Now, the company at the center of the controversy on illegal mining in the Tano Nimre forest in the western region has received the highest endorsement of its operations from President Akufo-Addo, who says it's currently not engaged in any such act. The president insists Akonta Mining Company Limited is not involved in any form of illegal mining anywhere in the country. You'll recall that despite having a mining lease in October 2022, the government or the Ministry for Mining and Land and Forestry stopped Akonta Mining, owned by the New Patriotic Party's Ashanti Region Chairman Bernard Enchibosi, from mining in the forest reserve. The matter is also being investigated by the special prosecutor. But addressing participants at the 28th National and 16th Biennial Congress of the National Union of Ghana Catholic Diocesan Priest Association held in Koforidua, the president said the company has done no wrong.
My seat, let me respond briefly to the chairperson on the issue of illegal mining. I want to assure him and all of you that Akonta Mining is not engaged in any illegal mining anywhere in Ghana as we speak. Further, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources has, through the agency of the Forestry Commission, with the assistance of the military, made the effort to cordon off all 294 sites of forest reserves in the country and rid them of illegal mining as we speak. We will continue to work to ensure that this situation remains permanent. This government is determined to win the fight against galamsey, no matter the cost in effort.
So that's the president giving that assurance there. You remember that yesterday, the youth of Samraboy issued an ultimatum that they do not want Akonta Mining again in their area to mine. Now, let's go on to the phone lines now on Zoom and speak to a convener of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey, Ken Ashigbe, who has been at the forefront of the fight against Akonta mining in the forest reserve. Now, thank you so much, Doc, for joining us. What do you make of the president's defense of Akonta Mining?
Very much. Well, he said this thing in response to a comment I made. I was the chairperson at the Congress, and so in making my comments, I had mentioned to him that I could not miss the opportunity of him being there, and then the Catholic bishops also being present. Because you remember that the Catholic Bishops' Conference had also reiterated their point that Akonta Mining, having been involved in that illegality, needed to be arrested, investigated, and prosecuted. So I had mentioned to him that I could not miss that opportunity to, remind him of that particular one and the fact that it needed to be dealt with. So it was in response to the comment I had made that he, in ending his remarks, he then says that Akonta Mining were not involved in any legality as we speak. So for me, the emphasis was as we speak. But remember, when Erastus did that expose in 2022, the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources also issued a statement in September 2022, and the Minerals Commission collaborated that also in October 2022. And so if the president is talking about an illegality happening as we speak, maybe that might not be there, but there was an illegality that happened in 2022. An illegality that resulted also in the people of Samraboy clashing with, the workers of Akonta Mining when they wanted to go into the forest reserve. Were they going into those reserves to go and pick snails, or were they going to harvest some herbs? Definitely, they were involved in some illegal activity, either prospecting or mining, which the minister who is responsible for that sector says they did not have a permit for. The Minerals Commission, which is the independent regulator for that, also collaborated with. And so it is important to put that in perspective. If the president is referring to an activity that is taking place as we speak. That is not what our petition is about.
Interesting. Just yesterday, the youth of the area issued an ultimatum that they do not want Akonta mining again in the area. But we understand that you have also petitioned the Inspector General of Police to prosecute directors of Akonta Mining Limited in the first letter to the police. Tell us why.
So, when the minister issued a statement and the Minerals Commission collaborated it after Erastus's expose, we then petitioned the Attorney General and the IGP, and we copied His Excellency the President, we copied the Speaker of Parliament and the Chief Justice. And the Attorney General responded to us saying that, by law, they cannot initiate any investigations on their own volition. It was left to institutions like the police and other allied organizations, I'm sure the Office of Special Prosecutor, who could do that. And so, so far as they were concerned, they could not respond to our petition in that form. And so it was left to the IGP. And so when the letter went to the IGP, he responded to us asking for a meeting on a particular date, but he postponed that meeting. But to date, that meeting has not been called. So this reminder to the IGP was to remind him that we were still waiting for that meeting. And the fact that, so far as we are concerned, we have not seen any arrest of the directors of Akonta Mining, neither have we seen any investigation or prosecution taking place. And so far as we are concerned, we believe that the minister and the Minerals Commission, had ample evidence that could lead to a prosecution. And so it was important that in the spirit of a country that is in a crisis, where currently now we are seen as water vulnerable, it was important that, this prosecution took place. So that's the reminder we have sent to the IGP. And we're hoping that the IGP would call us and then would also take action for that investigation to take place. The good thing is that we've seen the OSP, start processes, and we hope that the statement of the president talking about what was happening as we speak would not dissuade the OSP from investigating and ensuring that if any corruption or corruption-related activity has taken place, the director of Akonta Mining and their officials will be prosecuted. Okay,
but just in 30 seconds for me, what the president has said, do you foresee it having any impact on what's happening in terms of work on charging directors of the Akonta Mining for what they did in the Tano Nimre forest?
It is if you and I, the media, if the OSP, if the police, renege on their duties, but we need to. Well, maybe let's give the president the benefit of that. He was talking about activities as we speak. We know crime has no time bar. So we are talking about crimes that were committed in 2022. And so this should not, impact on anything. And we would keep on, sending reminders to the IGP. We will hope that the OSP will do its work. Remember that myself, Martin Pebu, and two others also petitioned the IGP. We are waiting for feedback on them by the end of this month. So far as we are the people who are sovereign, do not relent. We should ensure that it does not matter whose ass is God. If anybody falls foul of the law, that person should be prosecuted, no matter what anybody says.
Well, yesterday when we were speaking to the youth of Samraboy, they said they had picked the intelligence that Akonta Mining is still in the area and is preparing to venture into the forest again. They even sent us some notice of publication that the Minerals Commission had done in September 2022, announcing to the people that companies A and BC want to come and mine in the area. And they are sounding the warning that they will not step by or just stand by and watch someone come to mine in the area at the detriment of the environment. How do you think authorities should approach this issue now to forestall any further encounter between the people of the area and officers of Akonta Mining?
Well, if we will take consolation from what the president said, he said that the Forest Commission and the military were securing all forest reserve. I am hoping that the Tano Nimre Forest Reserve is part of it. We know that the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources has also said that the forest reserves were red zones and that he was not going to sign for any prospecting licenses in any of these forest reserves. As a country, the negative effect of mining, especially surface mining, on our environment is detrimental to us. We need to safeguard our forest. So I am hoping that nobody would issue any license to anybody, including Akonta Mining, to get into any of these forest reserves to go and do damage that we already, even those areas that have been mined and degraded, we've not been able to reclaim it. So I am hoping that the people of Samraboy will use the laws of this country, to ensure that the right things are done. But I'm also hoping that the Minerals Commissioner had said that Akonta Mining were involved in an illegality will not go ahead and give a company that is involved in an illegality any license to go into our forests to go and degrade them.
All right. Grateful to you that you could join us, Dr. Ken Ashiwe is convener for the Media Coalition Against Galamsey. Now, on the back of that, Land and Natural Resources Minister Samuel Abu-Jinapor has been providing further clarity on the President's comment on Akonta Mining Limited. He spoke to my colleague, Blessed Soga, on Newsnight on Joy 99.7 FM.
He said, as we speak, Akonta Mining is not engaged in any illegal mining activities in any forest reserve. It was an assurance he was giving to the Catholic priests as a way of response when they expressed anxiety about the activities of Akonta Mining, the alleged activities of Akonta Mining. The President said they are not involved in illegal mining as we speak. That is a statement of fact. What happened before, what is being done about it, all of those are matters which are under consideration and under investigation by the Ghana Police Service and the Special Prosecutor. So the President did not speak about anything to do with the past. He was speaking about what is the state of affairs today, and it was an assurance to them. And he went further to say that the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources is taking steps to cordon off the 295 forest reserves in our country and prevent any attack on these forest reserves by illegal mining. So it has absolutely nothing to do with what happened in the past. The President was talking about what is the state of affairs today, what is the situation on the ground today, and the President made a statement of fact.
All right, and pressure is still mounting from groups such as the Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, asking the IGP to crack down because they believe crime is crime. And you are a lawyer as well. You agree that irrespective of the time the incident or illegal activity occurred, there's still an element of evidence for which you could prosecute persons involved in such an activity. So you agree that irrespective of how long the activity may have taken place, you still have a chance to prosecute individuals involved, correct?
I'm on the same wavelength with whichever outfit which calls for crime to be punished. I mean, that's the only way we can come to grips with this issue of illegal small-scale mining. People who are involved in it must be punished, which is why I'm particularly excited by the judgment of the Circuit Court by imposing a hefty fine on illegal miners today. We are fully committed to prosecution and fully committed to punishing people who engage in illegal small-scale mining. As I just indicated to you, this matter is squarely within the four corners of the Ghana Police Service. They've been collaborating with my office. They've requested for some documents and some information. We provided all of them to them. We're cooperating with them fully. And yes, I mean, if it's established that some crime has been committed or some wrongdoing has been perpetrated, why not?
But there are questions about the earlier statement you signed yourself as part of measures to sanitize the area. You were clear in indicating that Akonta Mining was engaged in illegal activities in the Tano Nemere Forest Reserve. It was part of the statement that you issued after your initial investigations.
You take your time and read the statement again. I did indicate that information reaching means that this company is alleged to be involved in activities in a forest reserve which is not permitted by law, and I proceeded to act accordingly. Beyond that, a petition has been lodged to the police. Beyond that, a petition has been lodged to the Special Prosecutor. I myself, when I received my report from the Forest Commission, referred the matter to the Ghana Police Service for further investigation. And that's the due process of law in our country. If somebody were to make an allegation against you, my friend, the only way we can establish the veracity or otherwise of it is that the allegation will be investigated. And the people who have the mandate, the legal mandate to conduct such investigations are the Ghana Police Service. And they are thoroughly doing that so far as I'm concerned. As I said, they've written to me several times to seek for information and to seek for material on this particular matter. And I've furnished them with that. Why don't we wait for them to conclude their investigations and the chips will fall where they may?
Moving on to other stories now. Some Ghanaians who were given admission into various teacher training colleges have had their admissions revoked due to a government directive for teacher training colleges to reduce their intakes. According to those who have spoken to JoyNews, when they were only told the reason when they visited the campuses, we have been joined on Zoom by some of them to share their experiences with us. Now, good evening to you, lady and gentlemen, and grateful that you could join us. Okay, so let's move on and speak to Dr. Clement Apaku, who is a ranking member on the Education Committee of Parliament, for his thought on this. Doc, I'm grateful that you could join us. He's joining us on phone now. We are being told that some students are having their admissions revoked, and they were just communicated to when they went to those campuses. You are on the Committee of Education in Parliament. How much do you know of what this development?
Well, first of all, let me say good evening to you and viewers. I'm communicating from my beloved village, Doninga and Busa South, my constituency. I think that this is a very embarrassing development that truly exposes government's attempt to try and justify the reintroduction of a quota system which has tended to restrict the number of applicants that the colleges of education can take in. Government, in the wake of the publicized letter written by the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission to the heads of colleges of education, indicating that there were going to be specific numbers of students that ought to be admitted for the 2022-2023 academic year, indicated in that letter that they expected the colleges of education to strictly abide by the quotas given in the attached list, and that any college that went on to admit students beyond that quota would be responsible, or that government would not be responsible for paying the feeding fee and trainee allowance for such students. So it is very clear, as we have said all along as a minority, that the real issue is not about inadequate space, although we don't deny that there are challenges to do with space. The issue is government's inability to meet its commitments in terms of fully funding all students who qualify to get places in the colleges of education for whom the colleges have accommodation. Now, with regards to the development that has come up, it clearly confirms what we have already known, which is that the government, in even imposing the numbers on the colleges, did not consult and confer with the colleges of education. And if you were to look at the date of that letter, which is the 16th of December last year, you would notice that many of the colleges had already gone ahead to begin the processes of enrolling students or recruiting students. And because they had their own projections, and many of them had even expected to take in more students than they did last academic year, they, of course, gave admission to more students than what government is now compelling them to take in. And that is why we have the situation that you just mentioned.
If that's the case, how do we approach this to ensure that, like people who have spoken to us, they are not denied their right to education when, in fact, they've been given admission to these schools?
Well, I guess that is why it is important that we continue to expose government for its duplicity and lack of sincerity. Because quite clearly, if government had consulted and conferred with the principals of the colleges of education, they would have informed government about the fact that they had gone on to allow as many students to apply, and that they had even offered admission to students above and beyond the quota that government was presenting. But that didn't happen. And so I think that the onus falls on government to do the needful It is clearly not the fault of the colleges of education. I can tell you that if they have a choice, all these students that they had given admissions to, that they are now being compelled to revoke, they would bring in the students. But they cannot do so because government has said that if you even take one student, in addition to the mandatory quota that we are giving you, we are not going to be responsible for paying the trainee allowance and feeding fee for such students. So I think that government ought to either augment the numbers given by consulting with the colleges of education to know how many students or how many applicants they gave admissions to, and adjust the numbers that were published upwards to deal with the situation, or government needs to be bold enough to admit that it is constrained in terms of funding students at the colleges of education through the trainee allowance and feeding fee, and therefore will revert to what was happening under the NDC dispensation, where the trainee allowance was revoked, and we only had the feeding grant, but allowed the colleges to admit as many students as their facilities could contain.
Doc, I'm grateful that you could join us from your holy village for this conversation. Now, moving on to other stories. Former Director of the Ghana Health Service, Professor Ajiman Bedu Akosa, is calling for the establishment of a general supervisory body to resolve the tension between various associations in the health sector. Professor Bedu Akosa made the call in relation to the recurrent disagreement between the Ghana Medical Association and the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists over the years, and the recent event at the Mensha Government Hospital involving the Ashanti Regional Board of the National Service Scheme. He was speaking in an exclusive interview with JoyNews on the sidelines of the launch of the Made in GMA MTN Doctors Award to mark the 65th anniversary of the association in Accra. The following report has more.
I think it is important that all health professionals appreciate the fact that it is a multidisciplinary team, each holding its own and contributing to the ultimate health of the people. It is important that everybody accepts and knows their limitation in terms of their professional work. I think for me, this is the basic paradigm. If you are a professional, you know the limit to your training and expertise, and you know when to pass on. And even within a set professional grouping, that is why there are seniors, there are consultants, there are subspecialists, and so on and so forth. I think one of the difficulties is that in this country, there is lack of supervision. There's lack of supervision of all professional groupings. And it has allowed people to attempt to do what they like. And in essence, to go beyond what their capacity and capability permits them. And that is why this friction continues. Because I've worked in the UK, I know what happens there. There is no difficulty. Everybody, every professional group knows what they do, and they do it very well. And in the end, the patient gets better. We haven't gotten to that stage yet. And I want to implore all health professionals that we are in a new year.
I will be joined on Zoom by the Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists, Dr. Dennis Edu Jesse. Doc, grateful that you could join us. Why the seeming tension between your association and that of the Ghana Medical Association?
Thank you very much. I guess I can be heard.
Sure.
Even in reference to what Professor Ajiman Bedu Akosa had just said in the interview, we might not only want to restrict it to the medical laboratory science but then all health professional groupings within the health sector. So I just happen to be speaking, but I don't think from what he said, he specifically had an issue and had maybe pronounced that there is a tension between the medical doctors and the medical...
but that's something that we do see often between all
definitely.
the
So I think it's quite okay for me to speak to it, but I want to be fair to my good professor that from just the immediate interview, I don't think it's a continuation of the previous issues. But as we are even speaking, there is something brewing up, even in Convanoche, that things are still not settled. And maybe issues can come up anytime soon if things don't get the way they are supposed to be. But I think that to be frank with the situation, the problem has been, it is not just for the lack of the supervision, but just for the mere fact that professions are not respected. The definitions of what people are to do usually tend to be a problem, where in most cases, other sects of the health service delivery might want to maintain some kind of superiority and with a mindset that everything within the health sector is in the domain of one particular professional group. When that happens, knowing how things are evolving and how things have developed, and if respect is not given to the other arms that are coming up, we will usually have some of these problems all around. Because it's not a legal matter at all. The National Labour Commission should have been able to deal with most of the things that are coming up in the health sector. And for some of us, we fear very much what is the future is going to be, because if we want every other grouping within the health sector come up and want to maintain their superiority, the patient at the end will suffer.
Okay, all right.
We end up breaking into smaller groups simply because others are not respected, people are not allowed to practice their trade, and others think that this thing, I know it all. And for me, that is a bigger problem that we are having. No matter how you have developed academically and professionally, some other groups may want to still see you as, no, you are not doing anything. You are still under me. I control you. I can do your job. I allowed you to do what you are doing. And for me, these things don't happen in other jurisdictions that we are very easy to compare. Regulations work. And unfortunately, when you come here, regulations don't work. We have several good examples that we can learn from. Go to the Christian Health Association of Ghana, the Church hospitals, where the missions have their facilities. They are run smoothly. And you tend not to have some of the fracas and other grudges that you may see in the Ghana Health Service area. Is there something we can learn from there?
Okay.
Are we ready to accommodate that into the Ghana Health Service and the other areas of our health practice? We need to really sit down and come to understand, as Prof.
Okay,
said.
Doc. All right, Doc.
The teamwork, we need to work together.
Great. I'm grateful that you could join us there. Dr. Dennis Edujesi speaks for the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists. We'll take a quick